Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Early Edition.
5:30 now, and we are following two big stories today. First, DPW is taking a break from picking up your recycling starting today. The service will be suspended until November because of the coronavirus pandemic. Elijah Westbrook will join us live with more on that and what you need to know in just a few minutes.
Plus, on the right-hand side of your screen is the Archdiocese of Baltimore head back to school today. Baltimore City students are still struggling to get ready for virtual learning. Rachel Aragon shows us how a local organization is trying to break down barriers.
Welcome back to all of you on this Monday morning. I'm Patrice Sanders.
And I'm Tom Rogers. And we have your traffic and weather together. We do that every 10 minutes.
Let's get over to meteorologist Amy Aronson and the forecast. 5:31 now, a city in crisis. Starting today, you will be responsible for taking your recyclables to a nearby community collection center, as city recycling pickup will be suspended for months. Elijah Westbrook is live in North Baltimore with more on the changes and how one group is stepping in to try to fill the void. Elijah?
Yeah, good morning, Patrice. Well, it's probably not welcoming news for all, but it is something that city residents will have to get used to for quite some time. The suspension actually will last for a few months, up until November 1st. So like you said, Patrice, this means people will have to take their recyclables to one of the 14 drop-off locations. We're actually standing in front of one of them. This is Green Spring Middle School here. But this sudden change is actually bringing some communities together. Munir Bahar with the Core Institute, a youth advocate group, is paying Baltimore's youth to help pick up the trash on the streets. Every weekend, they're stepping in where DPW hasn't been able to. Bahar says for him, it's more about partnership and not a time to point fingers.
Some of the setbacks due to COVID-19, okay, we have to pull together as a community and think through our problems versus sitting back and complaining about the way things used to be.
But not everyone is so understanding about the problem. Republican candidate for mayor Shannon Wright says major changes need to be made within DPW. Now, we did reach out to other candidates running for mayor. Brandon Scott's office last night tells us to expect a major announcement on the trash from them later today. Now, for a full list of all the 14 drop-off locations, you can head on over to our website at foxbaltimore.com. We're live this morning here in Northwest Baltimore. I'm Elijah Westbrook, Fox 45 Early Edition.
Thank you, Elijah. And as the Baltimore City Department of Public Works struggles to keep the streets clean, there seems to be no limit to where people are just dumping their trash. This weekend, we found garbage bags, construction debris, furniture, and just other junk right outside of the gates of Baltimore Cemetery in East Baltimore.
Where it was located, where folks would come and normally mourn over their loved ones, now you're mourning over trash.
Usually, the Department of Housing and Community Development investigates the trash to try and pinpoint who's responsible. Then DPW comes out to clean it. But right now, sanitation crews are stretched so thin because of this pandemic, there's no telling when this junk will be hauled away.
Routes started getting longer, and we began seeing more and more employees go out on medical leave or injury due to heat-related illness.
Fox 45 reached out to District 13 Councilwoman Shannon Sneed's office in the Department of Housing and Community Development. We're still waiting to hear back. DPW encourages everyone, though, to call 311 to report illegal dumping.
5:34 and taking a look now at Maryland's latest coronavirus numbers. New cases continue to stay steady. There have been 497 new cases reported in the last 24 hours. Hospitalizations have dropped below 400 for the first time since mid-July. The state's positivity rate has barely changed, staying under 3.4%. Another 6 Marylanders have died. Happening today, it is the first day of school for the Archdiocese of Baltimore. Schools will be holding in-person classes. Now, this comes as Governor Larry Hogan says all Maryland school districts should be able to have some kind of safe in-person learning this fall. The Archdiocese superintendent says she's confident they're keeping up with all the CDC guidance. In the event of any possible COVID case, every school has a new isolation room.
Well, our driver has been what's in the best interests of students. So, and we know in-person learning is what's in the best interests of students.
All students over the age of 3 will be wearing masks. The desks are further apart and separated by shields. Those shields are also being used in the bathrooms. Families do have the choice to learn remotely.
Baltimore County Superintendent says the district is evaluating hybrid options to bring small groups of students back. President of the Teachers Union says they want to make sure that ventilation in older school buildings is up to code. They also want more specific guidelines for safety precautions.
Teachers are confused. Some of them are panicking because they fit into that high-risk group. Some of them, quite frankly, do want to go back. Yes, the numbers look great, but there's other things that need to be in place besides good numbers before we can say it's safe to open schools.
Well, the school system says any plan for even a small group of students to return will take time to implement. In the meantime, the State Board of Education will meet tomorrow to discuss standards for hybrid and virtual learning, such as how much live instruction will be required each day. Baltimore City students will start school virtually in just over a week, but not all families have access to high-speed internet. Rachel Aragon live in Southeast Baltimore this morning with how a local organization is stepping up to help bridge the digital divide. Rachel.
Yeah, Tom, good morning. So families will definitely be relying heavily on high-speed internet this year because parents, as you know, will be working from home combined with students learning from home this school year. It's also why a local nonprofit by the name of Elevate Baltimore is stepping up and also teaming up with Rowdy Orbit to begin installing mesh Wi-Fi networks in Baltimore City. So far, 2 have been installed already, one located at the Elevate Baltimore headquarters, the other installed at Hemingway AME Temple Church. Now, the nonprofit says the Wi-Fi networks will serve a great need this school year. And a 2018 American Community Survey found 40% of homes in Baltimore do not have wired internet connection.
For parents, it's, how are we going to afford Wi-Fi to be able to just ensure that our kids are keeping up, not just falling behind. And, for us, that's the real critical point, is to ensure that our young people aren't falling behind.
Now, students within the radius of the signal will be able to log into the open network for free and complete their distance learning assignments. Elevate Baltimore also hopes to expand this Wi-Fi access across all the districts they serve. That includes the Pigtown area as well as East Baltimore. We're live in Southeast Baltimore this morning. Rachel Aragon, Fox 45, Early Edition.
One of Governor Hogan's staffers is without a job after some controversial posts on social media. Still ahead, what some of those posts said.
The wet weather is back. Amy Aronson is tracking when you'll see rain in your neighborhood, plus when we could reach 90 degrees again. 5:38 is the time. You're watching Fox 45's Early Edition.
5:41 on this Monday. We are tracking rain chances again today, so rain chances go back up, especially late this morning through this afternoon. This evening we'll be in the thick of it with light, steady rain moving through the area. Tomorrow, more scattered showers and even some thunderstorms. That will be the case through the first half of the day at least, so rain chances stay up both today and tomorrow. Wednesday and Thursday, I think showers and storms will become more scattered and more confined to the afternoon. And the good news is, what you can't see beyond this, right now, an early look at Labor Day weekend looks like it's going to be rain-free. Now, coming up in just about 10 minutes, we'll talk more about the timeline of the showers today, and then the showers and storms come tomorrow. Patrice?
5:41 now, and in your morning health alert, about 20% of Americans don't trust vaccines. That is according to a new study out of the University of Pennsylvania. Authors based their findings on a 2019 survey of about 2,000 adults. While about 70% of respondents supported mandatory childhood vaccinations, roughly 20% held negative views about vaccines. President Trump and Joe Biden are taking their messages on the road this week. Why the unrest in cities across America could be part of that conversation. 5:42, you're watching Fox 45 Early Edition.
Fox 45 News, winner of 4 National Press Photographers Association Awards.
.45 on this Monday morning. This week, President Donald Trump and Joe Biden are taking their campaigns on the road. Despite the pandemic impacting nearly every American in some way, we expect both to address something else, the growing unrest and violence taking place in so many American cities. Sinclair National correspondent Christine Frizzell now with what we may expect.
Calls for change growing louder. In Washington this weekend, 5 police officers were injured after protesters lit fires and threw bricks and other projectiles. Nearly 100 days after the death of George Floyd, protests around the country continue, during which time more lives have been lost. In Portland, Oregon over the weekend, a man believed to be attending a pro-Trump rally was shot and killed. The Trump administration blaming local leaders.
They continue to refuse any type of federal assistance to bring that violent activity going on for almost 90 days now, a little over 90 days, to a close. The citizens of Portland want this.
Portland's mayor blaming what he calls President Trump's campaign of fear.
It's you who have created the hate and the division. It's you who have not found a way to say the names of black people killed by police officers, even as people in law enforcement have. And it's you who claimed that white supremacists are good people.
This back and forth battle already playing out on the campaign trail. The president retweeting a video from this weekend in D.C., calling protesters, quote, disgraceful anarchists, calling on the mayor to make arrests and to clean up the city.
And they're not peaceful protesters. These are people that every single night conduct violent acts, and it is in Democrat cities.
Capitol Hill Democrats turning that message around.
As his own advisor, Kellyanne Conway, said last week, they believe the violence is helpful to them. And the president is only motivated by one thing: what's in it for him.
Both President Trump and Joe Biden's campaigns expected to ramp up the messaging around this unrest and this violence. Look for President Trump to hammer home his rhetoric on the need for more law and order, and for Biden and his team to repeat this phrase: we are currently living in Donald Trump's America. I'm Christine Frizzell reporting.
Tomorrow, President Trump will travel to Kenosha, Wisconsin to survey damage and meet with law enforcement after a string of protests, rioting, and looting there. Demonstrators are calling for racial justice after a police shooting of Jacob Blake last week. 29-year-old was shot 7 times in his back while ignoring police and going into his vehicle. The incident happened after Kenosha police officers responded to a domestic dispute. Investigators say the officer opened fire when Blake tried to get into his car. Police say he was uncooperative, and investigators found a knife in the floorboard of that vehicle.
There was no weapon involved. They're trying to use that as a shield for the misactions and misconducts of a rogue police officer.
Blake's family says he is paralyzed from his waist down. Right now, Jacob's family says that they still have no plans to meet with the president during his visit. Meanwhile, new developments in the Breonna Taylor case. You'll remember Kentucky police officers shooting and killing Taylor while she was asleep in her bed when they served a no-knock warrant in March. Now the state's attorney general says the FBI completed its ballistics report from the day of her death, a critical element in determining whether to press charges against the officers involved.
We have received that ballistics report. Now, again, that is a critical piece of this investigation. It's not the end-all, be-all. There's still some witness testimony and interviews that have to be conducted, but we do have that ballistics report. We will be meeting with the FBI at the beginning of this upcoming week to have a painstaking review of that information.
Well, we have your traffic and weather together. We do that every 10 minutes. It's just about 5:50 right now. We want to go over to Amy Aronson with a look at the forecast.
.56 in a city in crisis. Baltimore had gone without a homicide for 6 days until last night. Police are reporting a fatal triple stabbing. Officials say 3 women were stabbed near Greenmount and 27th near a park. One of the women died. The other 2 are expected to survive. There is no information about whether the incident was targeted or if there's a suspect in the case. We have reached out to police and we'll let you know more once we find out. Meanwhile, a 23-year-old man is hurt after an overnight shooting in North Baltimore. Police say it happened on Woodbourne Avenue, where they found the victim with a gunshot wound to his leg just before 8 o'clock last night. Anyone with information is asked to call police.
Well, police are investigating after a body was found along a golf course in South Baltimore yesterday morning. Police say it was found on Washington Boulevard, and they say the medical examiner's office will conduct an autopsy to find his cause of death. Officials say no one was found inside a car that was submerged in the Gwynns Falls yesterday morning. Dive teams were called in for the search. Now the investigation has been turned over to police. We're still waiting for information about an apartment fire in northwest Baltimore. Fire officials reportedly saved one person from a 3-story apartment building on North Hilton Street around 10:30 yesterday morning. They say the person's injuries were not life-threatening.
5:57 and in your morning rush, an administration official for Governor Hogan's office has been fired after a series of controversial posts on social media seeming to praise the 17-year-old gunman who killed 2 people and wounded a third in Kenosha, Wisconsin last week. Arthur Love IV, formerly the deputy director of the governor's Office of Community Initiatives, was dismissed following several posts, including one that reads, quote, "Don't be a thug if you can't take a slug." A statement from the governor's office reads, "These posts are obviously totally inappropriate. We fully support the immediate actions taken by Director Steve McAdams to address the matter." The death toll from Hurricane Laura is on the rise. The Louisiana Department of Health is reporting 2 additional deaths, bringing the total number of deaths to 17. They say a 57-year-old man died from head injuries in a fall from a roof, and another resident died of carbon monoxide poisoning.
A show of support for firefighters in California, where wildfires have burned more than 1 million acres in just a week. Dozens of children and their families held signs of encouragement during a shift change Saturday morning. The notes will go to crews who have been working 24-hour shifts for the past few weeks.
Some of our firefighters have seen some pretty significant destruction in the 14 days, and to see the community come out and support every single firefighter is overwhelming.
Firefighters say while they have been getting other donations, it's the moral support that means the most. Students are brushing up on their reading ahead of the start of this school year. Yesterday, some of them got a little help during a free backyard reading camp.
Do you play any sports? You must be actively involved and be a part of a team to play in a football game or any other sport.
Baltimore author Beverly Goins gathered readers from age 4 to 12 and read out loud from books like Quarterback from the Riverbank. Now, pizza was served and readers got a free Ravens Kids packet as a prize.
Stay up to date on the day's top headlines. Have them delivered to your inbox every morning. Sign up for the Fox 45 newsletter and stay informed of the top stories of the day. And now there's even more reason to sign up. We're giving away $1,000. When you sign up, you'll be entered into our drawing for a chance to win that $1,000. Just go to foxbaltimore.com and click on the contests tab. And today is the last day to enter. And then one lucky winner will be selected in the next few days.
Starting today, DPW will be suspending recycling pickup. Coming up next, we'll tell you what this means for you at home and why one Baltimore mayoral candidate says if she's elected, this wouldn't happen under her watch.
And Baltimore area Catholic schools will be welcoming students back to the classroom today for the very first day of school. Coming up, we're going to hear from the superintendent and why she says and what they're doing to keep kids safe this year.
And we're dry and comfortable to start, but I am tracking our next weather maker. I'll explain exactly when that arrives and sends us our next round of rain in a couple of minutes.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 Morning News.
Ooh, look at that. What a beautiful start to this Monday morning.
That'll wake you up, right?
That really will. That's a gorgeous shot over the harbor there. Good morning to all of you on this Monday, August 31st. I'm Patrice Sanders.
I'm Tom Rogers. Yeah, we need to go back to that shot again. My goodness, that was great. I know. Look at that. Isn't that? It looks fake. It really does.
It does.
Just incredible. All right. Get a little stretch in. Maybe go outside. Go for a little jog. You do it because I'm not doing it.
Let's get over to meteorologist Amy Aronson and see if the weather is going to support Tom's jog today.
We've learned over the weekend that the city will be suspending recycling pickup for the next few weeks due to staffing shortages created by this pandemic. Elijah Westbrook live in North Baltimore this morning with more on the changes and what one Baltimore mayoral candidate is saying about this problem. Elijah?
Yeah, good morning, Tom. Well, the suspension actually starts in just about an hour. Every day from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., you can come to one of the city's 14 drop-off sites and drop off your recyclables. Now, DPW says this is because of staffing shortages as a result of the pandemic. Now, we did reach out to all of Baltimore's mayoral candidates to find out what they would do in a situation like this. Republican candidate Shannon Wright was the only one who responded to our request for comment. She says major changes need to be made within DPW.
If the folks at DPW can't get the job done, then perhaps they need to be part of what goes out with the recycling. I would be reaching out to companies that do hauling.
Now, this sudden change in service is actually bringing some communities together. In fact, Munir Bahar with the Core Institute, a youth advocate group, is paying Baltimore's youth to help pick up the trash on the streets. Every weekend, they're stepping in where DPW hasn't been able to. Bahar says for him, it's more about partnership and not a time to point fingers. Now, we do have a full list of the 14 drop-off centers on our website at foxbaltimore.com. But live this morning here in Northwest Baltimore, I'm Elijah Westbrook, Fox 45 Morning News.
Thank you, Elijah. This brings us to our question of the day. Now that recycling services are suspended, will you separate your trash from your recycling? If you'd like to weigh in, you see the results so far at the bottom of your screen. Just head over to our website, foxbaltimore.com/vote.
6:04 and on the path forward, Maryland has now seen nearly 108,000 confirmed coronavirus cases. The state adding 497 in just the past 24 hours. Now, right now, about 358 Marylanders are in the hospital because of COVID-19. That's down 29%. The positivity rate continues to hold steady at about 3.3%. And 6 more Marylanders have died. Now, as the coronavirus numbers in the state hold steady, Catholic schools within the Archdiocese of Baltimore will welcome students back to the classroom today for the start of the new school year. The Archbishop will also be visiting several Catholic schools this morning for the first day. Rachel Aragon is live in Southeast Baltimore with more on how these schools have been preparing for this first day of school. Rachel.
Patrice, good morning. So students will definitely notice their classroom this year will look a little different than it does in previous years. But like you just said, Patrice, the Archbishop, along with the school superintendent, will be making the rounds today, stopping at various schools in the Baltimore area, greeting students as they welcome them back for the first day of school. But if you recall, back in July, the Archdiocese of Baltimore, though, had released its reopening plan for in-person learning for elementary and secondary schools. The superintendent says the schools have been keeping up with CDC guidance. Now, schools require students and staff follow strict safety practices, including social distancing, and of course, students 3 and older will be required to wear a mask. Now, due to the size and staffing of some of these Catholic school facilities, some of them will begin the school year under what they're calling a hybrid model, meaning they'll incorporate both in-person and remote learning. Now, for those families in the district, though, that do not feel comfortable sending their students back to the classroom from in-person learning, the superintendent does stress they do have the option to opt for virtual learning and learning from home. We're live in Southeast Baltimore this morning. Rachel Aragon, Fox 45 Morning News.
All right, Rachel, thank you. 6:06, and we have some breaking news. We're taking you live to the White House here this morning, where we are getting word that President Trump will visit Kenosha, Wisconsin tomorrow. Also hearing from Wisconsin's governor that they do not want the president to come. They're asking the president to reconsider, as the city has been the scene of unrest since, of course, Jacob Blake was involved in that police-involved shooting a week ago. This, as calls for change grow louder across the country, sometimes becoming violent, as we saw over the weekend. We want to warn you that some of this video here can be hard to watch. What you're seeing here is from Portland, Oregon on Saturday. Trump supporters and protesters denouncing police brutality clashing in the streets there, leaving 1 man dead. But protesters aren't the only ones now clashing.
Do you seriously wonder, Mr. President, why this is the first time in decades that America has seen this level of violence? It's you who have created the hate and the division.
President Trump quick to respond on Twitter, tweeting, quote, "Portland will never recover with a fool for a mayor." But it's not just happening in Portland. Closer to home, this was the scene in Washington, D.C. over the weekend at Black Lives Matter Plaza. Police say protesters lit fireworks, intentionally set fires, threw bricks. police responding with tear gas and sting balls. The department also saying that 5 officers were hurt in that incident. At the same time, though, there are peaceful protests. This was the scene just yesterday in Harford County, a drive-by protest to condemn social and racial injustice. A lot of people weighing in on what's been happening across the country. Here's just a few of them. Nick Walden saying there's a reason that a huge caravan of aggressive MAGA protesters showed up in Portland, of all places, yesterday. They weren't looking to register voters. They aren't concerned about changing minds. They came to a liberal city precisely to incite, stir up, and provoke. Another response for you here this morning, Bob, saying that can anyone think of a bigger fool and more incompetent Portland mayor than Ted Wheeler? His hatred and bias against Trump and his hard-headedness for not working with Trump to solve the rioting, looting, and arsonist issues has gotten people killed. Shameful. That's the latest from our Breaking News Center.
Thank you, Megan. Still ahead, acts of kindness. Hear how an anonymous letter prompted people on Facebook to help out a Massachusetts couple.
And we are tracking our next weather maker. We are looking at rain moving in later this morning. I'll explain exactly when it arrives, how long it sticks around in a couple of minutes. It's 6:09. You're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning. 6:12 on this Monday. Dry spell is going to come to an end today as this disturbance moves in from the south and from the west. If we time it out, it looks like those first showers push into western parts of Maryland between 10 and 11 this morning. And then by lunchtime, by midday, don't make outdoor lunch plans. It looks like we'll see some light, steady rain through much of the day. See that light green overhead? That's that steady rain taking us through at least 4 or 5 o'clock this evening, and then scattered showers, on and off showers likely through your Monday night. But then come Tuesday, see those showers and storms still off to our south? Those are going to work their way through. So coming up in just about 10 minutes, we'll walk through the timeline for the showers and then the storms tomorrow. And I'll let you know exactly how much rain we're expecting with the 2 days combined. Tom?
Thank you, Amy. Well, trending now, Massachusetts couple has received hundreds of donations after a letter shamed them for not painting their home. The couple has been living in their home for more than 50 years. Here's a picture of it right here. Last month, they received a note calling it an eyesore, which their daughter posted on Facebook. She explained her mom is bedridden with multiple sclerosis and her dad has a quadruple bypass surgery. In response to the post, hundreds of people have donated more than $50,000 to help paint and repair that home. Delta Airlines taking an extra step to keep its passengers healthy. What it's offering on its planes that you won't be able to find on any other airline so far. 6:13 is your time.
.16 now and on the path forward. The United States is getting closer to a grim milestone, nearing 6 million confirmed coronavirus cases. So far, about 183,000 people nationwide have died from COVID-19. Health officials are citing large case increases for several Midwestern states, including Iowa, North and South Dakota, and Minnesota. The U.S. isn't the only country, though, seeing jumps in COVID-19 cases. In India, authorities are reporting the highest single-day rise in new COVID cases globally, with more than 78,000 recorded yesterday. Doctors there say there is a stigma surrounding the virus and it's actually keeping people from being tested.
If one person is found to be positive, then the other 6 in his house are also positive. But when that one person goes out in society and finds out that people are almost treating him as untouchable, then others don't get tested due to fear of similar treatment.
Right now, India still has roughly half as many cases as the U.S. does, but this weekend's data makes India the #1 country in the world for new daily coronavirus cases.
Some COVID survivors may require a lung transplant before they can fully recover. Doctors at Johns Hopkins have been studying the long-term effects of this virus. And they've been bringing patients back for follow-up visits to learn more. They say 2 COVID patients required lung transplants because they would not have been able to breathe on their own again.
What we don't know yet is what the long-term problems are going to be with patients who have been really, really sick with COVID. Are some of them going to have permanent lung dysfunction, months or years out?
Doctors say it will be months or years before we really know the long-term impacts. 6:17 is the time, and which means we have your traffic and weather. We do that together every 10 minutes. We have meteorologist Amy Aronson joining us to talk about the beautiful weather that we are in store. And will it continue from yesterday, Amy?
Still ahead, how one organization is helping to bridge the digital divide as students prepare to head back to school. 6:21, you're watching Fox 45 Morning News, all local, all morning. $6.24. These days, every penny counts. And who wants to throw money away? You'd be surprised at how much you can waste in just one room, your kitchen. Consumer Reports reveals the money-wasting spots and what you need to do about them. Let's start with your fridge. Yes, follow your mom's advice and don't stand there with the doors open, figuring out what to grab. But a less obvious money waster? Overfilling your fridge.
Cold air needs room to circulate in the fridge. If you overstuff it, it's going to use more energy and cause more wear and tear on the appliance.
And your refrigerator's condenser coils collect dust and other debris that tax the compressor and could lead to a pricey breakdown. To help prevent this, brush out and vacuum the coils every 6 months. Next, your oven. Consider using it less in cooking smaller meals with your toaster oven, microwave, or air fryer to shrink your energy bill. You might be wasting money on cookware by wearing it out.
Avoid using aerosol cooking spray on your nonstick cookware. It can actually build up on the surface and damage it.
If you use your nonstick skillet for high-temperature cooking like searing meat, your pan's coating will wear out more quickly and need to be replaced. So consider investing in a cast iron pan. Some CR Best Buy skillets cost around $25. At the sink, save energy and don't scrub the pots and pans with running water. Let a good soapy soak do the trick. And your dishwasher uses more water and wears out twice as fast if you run it half empty, so fill it up. And don't waste energy pre-rinsing dishes. Your dishwasher's built-in sensors will adjust the wash cycle to get them clean. Finally, one of the biggest kitchen money wasters, tossing spoiled food. We throw out a quarter of all the groceries we buy. Some tips: keep milk out of the fridge door. Consumer Reports tests find that space is often the warmest part of your refrigerator. Keep long-lasting condiments there instead. Making these little changes can stop a lot of money from going down the drain. And here's another tip from the CR Food experts. When it comes to produce going bad before you can use it, apples, apricots, and pears might be the culprit. These fruits give off a gas called ethylene that causes produce near them to ripen, so make sure you store them in a separate bin in your fridge. In other consumer news, Delta Airlines is going the extra mile trying to keep travelers healthy. It says it is installing hand sanitizer stations inside its planes. Delta is the first U.S. airline to do so. The company started installing the stations on their planes last Friday. The sanitizer will be placed at the boarding door and next to bathrooms. A rainy few days ahead. Meteorologist Amy Aronson is letting us know when the rain will get started and how long it will be here. 6:27 is the time. Hey,